Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boscheman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we are going to take a look at the numerology of Pluto dipping into Aquarius from March 23rd, 2023, through June 2023. Now, I know that, there's plenty of resources out there that address this and what to expect, but I wanted to, again, sort of look at the energy with the numerology because I find it kind of interesting what's being highlighted. So I want to share that with you, and then I will also break it down for each life path number so that you can kind of understand what you might expect on a more sort of concentrated personal level with these energies. So Pluto's stay in Aquarius for the next couple of months anyway will give us a taste of what we may further expect or what might be highlighted when Pluto ingresses into Aquarius for its more lengthy stay of 20 plus years, which will begin March 2024. So this sort of grand entrance on March 23rd, 2023, highlights the energies of the 15-6 collectively. So we'll all feel this influence to some degree, even if it's more subtle. Because again, this is a lengthy stay. Pluto moves very, very slowly. And so the effects are not typically felt right out of the gate, although sometimes it can be. But a lot of times it's more progressive, right? But we will all feel this change and transformation because Pluto signifies death, transformation, rebirth, right? So whatever it touches, it's going to transform in some significant way. And so in the case of numerology, it's touching or highlighting the energies of the 15-6. So when we look at or break down the energies of the 15-6, we have the energies of the 1, the 5, and the 6. So the 1 is going to bring into focus independence, autonomy, self, the power back to the individual, right? Transformation, change in, again, shifting the power back to the individual. Taking responsibility for our own life and the direction of it, right? Taking an initiative, being more assertive and more direct within our communication of what it is that we need and what we will or will not tolerate, right? What it is that we will sort of compromise on or not compromise on, and what we won't sacrifice for when it comes to what we need in order to thrive. The 1 energy is going to influence or sort of bring into focus stepping outside of our comfort zone, taking appropriate risks to create a better way of doing things, not just for self necessarily, but for the good of all. So being assertive, taking those risks, taking the initiative, again, to come up with resources, solutions for the greater community. The 1 energy can emphasize confidence in finding our voice and using it. Less control from the external or not accepting control from the external, and bringing the focus back to control within our own lives and our destination. We can see shifts around the 1 energy in how we own our own space and how we show up in the world, honoring our own unique identity and our own unique contributions. We'll be asked with this energy to take responsibility for those actions and take accountability for how our actions affect the all. Now, the 6 energy emphasizes emotions and how we work with those charged energies, taking responsibility for working with them and managing how we express them, using that energy for good rather than destruction and separation. Now, again, emotions are such a hot topic because people immediately, when you say control your emotions or manage your emotions, people immediately want to jump to suppression or avoidance. And that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is working with your emotions in a very healthy way so that you're not expressing them in a destructive way, right? You can work with, honor, acknowledge your emotions without sort of directing them or expressing them in a way that causes harm to self or others. So there may be more of an emphasis on emotions, where for so long, emotions for women, men, have been really sort of taboo and suppressed, right? For women, if you're emotional, you're hysterical, right? You're out of control and you're not taken seriously. For men in society, if they express emotions, they are weak, right? And of course, I'm not talking about like anger and that sort of thing. For whatever reason, we've become a society that respects expressing anger and violence and all those things. And so I think there's probably going to be a shift where we start respecting having greater control and management of those emotions rather than letting the emotions control us, right? It's so much healthier for self and others when we can manage and work with that very charged energy in a healthy way. And the 6 energy being highlighted puts emphasis on that. I expect there to be, with this 6 energy, more emphasis on the energy of the divine feminine. Now, I'm going to be talking a little bit about divine feminine energy, divine masculine energy, or feminine energy, masculine energy. This has nothing to do with gender. This is the energy, right? How we express that energy. So keep that in mind as we move through this. I know that if you listen to my channel, you already are aware of that, but I'm just putting that out there. So with the 6, I do expect to see a greater emphasis on the energy of the feminine. So more receptivity, more compassion, more empathy, less focus on striving, and more focus on work-life balance. Because right now, there's definitely an imbalance there. It's more about, how much you can do and how often and what your success rate is and all of those things. There's much more emphasis on the end goal and striving to get there. And I think there will be a shift there where, in one way or another, the focus sort of balances out and we start looking at, again, that work-life balance, the sort of honoring the holistic need for rest and rejuvenation, more balance and harmony rather than separation and man-made boundaries, right? So we may see less borders and more unity, figuratively speaking, but also literally. We might see sort of borders between countries open up and get less sort of strict or rigid, where it's much easier to cross borders and, experience different cultures and experience living in another country without major restrictions type thing. And so much less about, this is like ownership, like this is mine, so you can't have it type thing, right? And it's like, more openness when it comes to, just resources and, again, sharing wisdom and knowledge and all of these things that to some degree do have a level of restriction, right? There's definitely very strong man-made boundaries, whether you agree with it or not, that separate countries, right? Individuals, peoples, community, etc. And I think that with the emphasis on the 6, there's going to be much more about the greater community. So a greater coming together. So lessening of those borders. Again, whether you like it or not, this is the energy that's being highlighted. And so again, it will hopefully, or at least the goal of the energy would be, of the 6, right? is to bring people together, to work together more and be less divided. And so that brings into focus man-made boundaries and alleviating them or lessening them in some way to, again, find balance. I believe under the sixth energy, we'll see a deeper understanding of the needs of others. And again, the greater community, taking into account other perspectives, other ideas. This is a big one. And this is something that we're not very good at. We try to be, but it's definitely something that needs to come into balance, right? And I think the energy of this, Pluto highlighting this sixth energy is going to bring that into the focus. Now, the 5 brings the change, brings the transformation, brings the unconventional ideas. And so one of those things would be like if you felt sort of some kind of emotional charge about me talking about man-made boundaries and, countries opening their borders more and being a little bit more open with that. This is an unconventional idea, right? I mean, other people have had it, obviously, but it's like one of those things where it's outside the box. It's outside the norm. It's outside of the way that we've always done things. And so the 5 energy is going to ask us to think differently, to do differently, come up with those unconventional ideas and then do something with them to assist in merging the energies of the 1, which is more masculine energy of action, self-giving, with the more feminine energies of the 6, receptivity, stillness, compassion. Pluto in Aquarius has the potential over the next 20 plus years to lessen the gap between the divine feminine energies and the divine masculine energies, to create greater balance and harmony in how we honor self and how we honor others in a more elevated way. So we hear a lot of people talking about the rise of the divine feminine, and really what the potential is that the focus or the emphasis on the masculine energy will start to lessen as the feminine energies begin to rise, and they will meet somewhere in the middle, right? Balancing those energies, because if we have too much of either, it's imbalance, it's disharmony. And so the goal, and Pluto is always, the goal of Pluto is to come in, dismantle, and then force rebuilding of something for it to become more spiritually elevated, to step into a higher octave, right? So where there is imbalance, Pluto will come in and sort of rip it apart, break it back down to its core, and force us to rebuild in some way. But the goal, though it can be challenging when we're in it, is to get us to collectively a higher octave, right? A higher consciousness, an elevated state of being. So it completely makes sense, given the imbalance between the feminine and the masculine energies, that Pluto would come in and put a focus on this in the age of Aquarius, which again is unconventional thinking, doing things differently, taking into consideration self and all. So big energies that we're working with here for the next 20 plus years. And I will say that change does not happen without resistance. So we can expect, with 5 energy, we can expect the unexpected. When it comes to those not ready or willing to meet in the middle, some people do thrive off of separation and won't give in easily. But Pluto is a relentless energy, and so is the energy of the 5. So though it will probably, likely be slow and progressive and not without chaos and conflict, when, this transit is over, we'll likely see greater balancing of these energies collectively than we have ever seen, in thousands and thousands of years throughout history. I certainly hope so anyway. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at how these energies may affect each life path number. So life path 9. So what's interesting is, of course, 9 energy always works with the universal energy, right? So the energy that you all are working with in a more concentrated way is the same as what I just went over for the collective. So, of course, if you didn't listen to the intro, please do so. It's very relevant for you all. But for you all, the way that this may show up is sort of this desire for more freedom, more opportunities to, I guess, like break free from or have some downtime from being in service to others, like your sort of giving nature, like it can, when you have the energies of the 15-6, it can sometimes present as feeling overly burdened or feeling too restricted and not enough freedom or not enough downtime, that life is just too serious. And so, you can't really ever move away from your 9 energy. It's such a core part of who you are, and you're meant to master it in this lifetime, obviously. But so the energy of the 6 is always going to be there throughout this 20-year period, sort of pushing you back towards your 9 energy and to continue to nurture and to continue to take all into consideration. However, the 15 is very much giving you sort of the green light or the permission to explore a little bit deeper in how can you incorporate more time for self, more opportunities to tap into your inner child where you're simply doing things for the pleasure of doing them. And being a little bit less serious in, taking that pressure off of yourself and exploring more and expressing yourself in a more creative, expressive way. The 1 energy, again, sort of reminding you that any work that you do is not going to have the same impact that it would if you're honoring yourself, right? Or if you're not honoring yourself. So the key with this energy for the next 20 years is very similar to what I talked about in the intro. Finding and figuring out your place in the world, what you want that to look like, what that means to you. What does autonomy mean for you? What does authenticity mean for you? What does sort of being independent and interdependent mean for you? And what does that look like? And how can you find balance? So there's potentially going to be a lot of self-reflection, self-evaluation so that you can honor your own needs, because you are, at the end of the day, an individual and with your own identity and your own unique contributions. And so when you lose sight of that, you lose sight of self. And so this energy is sort of pushing you back into honoring self and making sure that you are being very clear about what it is that you need to be able to do your work within the world as a 9. And then the 5 energy is bringing that sort of desire and push for freedom, for less restriction, less pressure, less seriousness, right? It's bringing the lightness to the equation, or hoping to, right? To help you to tap into your inner child. What did you used to do that would light you up, that made you happy, that made you feel carefree? Because with 9 energy and with 6 energy, sometimes there can be like this sort of pressure that sort of overtakes everything. And it's really easy to lose sight of the joy and what makes you happy and things that are more lighthearted. So for you all, I would absolutely say this is going to be a period to find the balance between your sort of life of selflessness, your life of being in service to others in a higher, higher vibration, but also honoring self and making sure that you're enjoying this life as well. Because just because you're a 9 does not mean that you're not meant to enjoy this adventure, right? It's just that your work in this life, your purpose in this life, is one of greatness, right? Like one that like just requires a lot from you. But you're absolutely still meant to enjoy the ride and find the joy along the way. And this 15 energy is going to help you to do that without losing sight of your deeper soul commitments, right? Of the 6 and the 9 type thing. And doing things to help empower others, nurture, compassion, forgiveness, gratitude, all of those things, while also, again, honoring the needs of self. So this is potentially going to be a very transformative year for you, or 20 years for you all, where, again, you sort of can find peace with your place in the world when it comes to self and others, and finding the balance between the two. Because with anything, there has to be balance, right? And Pluto is going to help define that balance after coming in and dismantling whatever is not working. So you'll know exactly where this is going to show up, because it will show up there. And it's going to be where you're seeing things shift in a big way, or transform, or start to feel really chaotic, or, a lot of pressure before there can be peace. So just be aware of that. But this has the potential to be very transforming for you all in a very healthy way. So that, you can not feel like you're just here on this planet to serve others or to assist others type thing, but to also find your own joy and enjoy the ride. So of course, big energies for 9s, but I hope this was helpful, and I hope it's a beautiful 20 years for you all. Take care, 9s. Bye for now.